Ranking all the Rites of War for Horus Heresy 2.0, Part 2 of Part 4, the Drop Pod Assault. My name is Mechanid, let's get started. For the full effects and limitations, see Part 1, because right now we're cracking on with the upsides. The fact that you get to deploy all your guys at once, barring any allies, means you can saturate your opponent with threats as you drop all around his troops, and while your opponents can use the interceptor reaction to try and shoot you down, they are limited to only 3 reactions, meaning that with enough saturation and clever placement, you can help to mitigate these reactions. Plus, with so many drop pods coming down and the pinning checks from the deep strike going off, you can likely shut down some or enough of this problem shooting before the interceptor reactions trigger, leaving you free to run rampant. Because you perform the drop pod assault at the start of your first turn, this means that if you go second and have all your troops off the board, you can in effect cancel out a whole turn's worth of damage from your opponent. While this will give your opponent a turn to reform the ranks and adjust to the battlefield, the demoralizing effect of having a completely flat turn 1, which will have had to have been spent preparing for your drop assault, is not to be underestimated. Now, the big deep strike gimmick of this list lets you get your squads into position exactly where you want them to be, and this cannot be overstated. Melter weapons, both multi or single, love to be within close range, and deploying via drop pod assault lets you get them right into the guts of the enemy from turn 1, not to mention chucking a dreadnought into the back line. All of this adds together to give you a fantastic alpha strike. You'll be trying to take out as much as the enemy force as possible in that first turn. Even if you don't, this list will force your enemy to play your game, as the mass drop assault will warp the game around that first turn drop. As such, this is a very proactive Rite of War that favours aggressive, daring commanders and any legion with good shooting that won't suffer from the moving condition of disembarking from a transport. So Death Guard heavy weapons teams, for example, will be excellent along with any assault weapons such as melter or plasma guns. However, this is a quite restrictive right to play and can get quite repetitive to play as well, with the only real variation being what you actually put in those drop pods and if you're taking allies or if you're taking drop pods that you can charge out of. That being said, this list is quite easy to build for. While yes, you need a lot of drop pods, those drop pods are very flexible to fill up with infantry, and with only regular drop pods restricting bulky units with the infantry transport special rule, you can slap terminators into the bigger pods and go to town. Overall, pretty good. You just have to pray that your opponents don't bring a master of signals with them. Now, despite the proactive nature, and for the requirements that this Rite of War needs to get rolling, I'm going to have to put the drop pod assault in a B tier. It is really cool and very thematically strong. The fact that you need a lot to go right for you, and the fact that the interceptor reaction can hamstring you coming out of the gate, I can't place this any higher. Don't get me wrong, it's a strong B tier, maybe even a low A tier, as I do have a soft spot for this list. However, when compared to the other Rites of War, which don't require lots of things to go right for you, and can't be shut down by a single bad roll, I can't bring myself to raise the drop pod assault any higher than a B tier. But don't get me wrong, it's a good Rite of War and a fun one. What Rite of War should we look at next? Stay tuned for more. My name is Mechanid, thanks for watching.